I speak about how ICOs actually can create long-term value and contradict what the previous guy said. But also how the XYO network is going to revolutionize how we transact in the world today. The smart contracts are pretty amazing, right? You don't need lawyers, middlemen, you don't need escrow. They work on automatic, transparent, and immutable ways. You create them once, and then they just transact. The problem with smart contracts is that they need data input. And the data input to smart contracts, they're called oracles. They are often centralized data sources. So there could be a website, or a sensor, or a person. For example, if you have two teams, like you and us, you and me, we make a bet. If a certain sports team wins, we still need to look at that website. And I could pay off the owner of the website, or I could hire someone to hack it. If the bet is sufficiently large enough, I'm incentivized to cheat. So how do we avoid this? We try to create several data input sources and try to have them to have consensus. We try to solve this problem for location. Right at the moment, you have GPS. GPS is flawed because it's a centralized data source. For example, during the Pokemon Go craze, the clever kids just download the GPS spoofing apps and got the rare Pokemons. Or allegedly, a few years ago, a foreign actor landed an American drone by sending up a wrong GPS signal. And the drone just landed because it thought it was at the base in Kandahar. Okay. So what we are doing is we are building the first decentralized location oracle. And we do this through our IoT devices. It's like all of us taking a selfie together. We print out a bunch of copies, put our signatures on there. Once we leave each other, we can prove that we were close to each other. We call that bound witness. There's a lot of solutions for that, for example, in e-commerce and some others I come through. So how it works for us, we are around since 2012. We have a bunch of IoT devices, over 1 million, and those can detect each other's location. But we are also working on partnerships. We just spoke SK Telecom. So with other IoT devices, mobile phones, we built those partnerships to expand our network. What you could do is you could put an RFID chip or NFC chip in a packaging tape, for example, of Amazon. And once the package arrives at your doorstep, the payment to Amazon gets triggered. So you do payment upon delivery. Or even better, you only trigger the payment once the package is in your living room. About 1/3 of Americans experienced porch theft in 2016. And because you get centralized data, you don't know if it's the UPS guy, for example, scanning the package but never delivering it, or your neighbor took the package away, or someone ran by and took the package. Obviously, you don't want to pay for that. Or at review sites, I speak with one of the big hotel review sites, and they tell me they lose their users because hotels and marketing teams just became too good at creating fake reviews. So how do you start trusting those reviews again? And that is by having someone, if you can prove someone flew from San Francisco to San Diego, that's where we're based, and stayed at a certain hotel there for 2 weeks, flew back to San Francisco, and then writes a review about it, you suddenly have location-verified reviews. This is specifically valuable if you have someone who creates those reviews again and again, so builds reputation over time. Of course, it's not only valid for hotel reviews, but for restaurants or any other type of reviews. In this way, there are 1 million use cases of what we do. We can strengthen security, and because you can prove where and when someone or something is at a certain place. So you can make sure your kids came safely to school, they went there with their friends, and they took the path you wanted them to take. Or one of the 2 weekends ago, we had a hackathon in our office with about 120 hackers. with data from the city of San Diego. And in San Diego, we have GE, IoT, smart meters, and smart traffic lights. We built on top of our blockchain solutions for parking and traffic flow. So we imagine that every car in the city of San Diego would be, we call them Sentinels, a location verification device. And once they go into a parking spot, you could send into an app, 90% of parking spots in an area occupied. And the person who drove the car there just leaves the car, and the meter charges by the minute in XYO tokens, let's say. If you overstay your allotted time there, you get a ticket. The ticket gets automatically paid. You go back into your car, go back into the traffic. Now, all those cars drive around, and you could actually analyze the traffic flows through the other cars around, which are Sentinels, but also through other connected devices, which I spoke about before. So what could you do with that? You could send that to a traffic management system and send it back to the traffic lights to optimize your red-green phases. With a rudimentary AI, you can even make that predictive. You gather data over time, optimize it, and you can do predictive traffic flow management and make everybody's life nicer and easier. So that's all applications we can do today. But imagine in a world in like 5 to 10 years, a world full of AIs, robots, smart cities, drones, self-driving cars. All those things rely on transactional location data, which nobody provides today. And we want to be that standard of the future. So I spoke about the Sentinels. The Sentinels are our location verification devices. They are IoT devices, mobile phones, or anything connected, basically. They gather the location. We have conversations with one of the largest mobile app distributors in the world. For example, they have about 100 million daily active users. We could be part of their network. What they do is they monetize a lot of apps with rewarded videos and virtual currencies and those kinds of things. We could be in there and provide location verification. The Sentinel or the phone would earn XYO tokens doing that. And the person owning the phone wouldn't need to watch the video or buy Farmville coins. We would gather data. Then we have the bridges. The bridges relay the data. Sometimes the Sentinel and the bridge can be the same device. So if the Sentinel is sophisticated enough, like a mobile phone, there could also be a bridge. But if it's a Bluetooth beacon, for example, they would only be a Sentinel. The bridges relay the data to a component we call the archivist. Archivists are distributed computing systems similar to the Berkeley Open Infrastructure Network, which is around since the end of the 90s, I think. Many of you might be familiar with City at Home and other applications they built on top of that. It's basically you dedicate X%, let's say 3% of your personal computing power to being an archivist, and you would earn XYO tokens for that as well. So the data storage is completely centralized as well. Our fourth component are the diviners. Diviners are an algorithm which are more computing heavy, similar to mining Bitcoin or processing Ethereum transactions. The diviners go and grab the data from the archivists and try to find the best answer. A bunch of diviners are competing against each other to find the best answer, and then they try to find near consensus. There's probably never going to be consensus in a large enough network because they grab different data points. So, so to go back to the first use case, e-commerce use case, what would happen, for example, you could ask the network, where's my package? You pay some XYO tokens into the network, and then the diviners go start work and grab the data from the archivists, which they got through the bridges from the Sentinels. And all of those components get a piece of that XYO bounty you paid. So it's, we have a proof of work for the miners here, and for the Sentinels, it's a proof of work / proof of stake, because they need to stake some XYO tokens to provide location verification data. And the reason we do that is because we want to disincentivize you to lie. So if the whole room says, we are here right now in San Francisco at this hotel, in this location, but you say we are in Shanghai today, your answer is improbable, and you would lose your tokens. And your reputation would go down. So as your reputation goes down, you become less relevant for the network as well. Yeah, that's us, how our product works in a nutshell. Like I said, we are around since 2012. We are SEC qualified and regulated since 2016. We have audited financials since 2012, I think. The 3 co-founders sold 4 ventures in the last 6 years. We are a team of about 20 people full-time, and have another 20 contractors, maybe 30 people understaffed. I think everybody in the industry knows there's not more than 4 hours sleep a night right now. And so we look for people. So if you love this and want to come to San Diego or work remote, we need you. We started our token sale 2 days ago, our main token sale. What we did a little bit different than most other companies. We had, about 2 months ago, the first VCs came to us and showed some interest into what we do. And we collected telephone numbers and email addresses and telegrams, how that goes, had our first conversations. Then we decided that we don't want to take VC money first, but that we actually want the community. And we believe that there's long-term value in creating community versus catering to VCs in the beginning, which have special needs. And how we did it, we marketed in 2 groups, a Facebook group and a Telegram group. We're about 2,300 people combined. And of those 2,300 people, about 500 of them put some Ethereum into our project. So we have a very high conversion rate. And about 95% of them contributed 5 ETH or less. So those are the people who are going to be the real evangelists. This is our community, right? Those are the developers next door, or it's a guy in Shanghai who's going to wear your T-shirt on your head because he's so passionate about the project. Then, of course, we continued conversation with institutionals about 1.5 months later, and also with about 23 lawyers. And we decided then to restructure everything a little bit and take a very conservative route. So we have I mentioned it during the ICO pitching competition. We have a Regulation S, Regulation D, and a Reg A Plus offering. And during the Reg A Plus, for unaccredited investors, we only sell equity, which is different as well. So people, the perceived to be least sophisticated investors get the most protection by buying equity in our companies. There's an advantage, because for every token we sell, we allocate 1 to the company, meaning for every $1 we get in, we also get a $1 asset. So if you own equity, there's an advantage for you to honor this. But if you're an accredited investor or you live overseas, actually we look at 115 different jurisdictions from the legal side, you can buy our tokens. Yeah, I really spoke with 23 lawyers. What else? We have amazing advisors, like Tom Kazar from Augur. If you're familiar with Augur, they're a prediction market, which resolves on wisdom of the crowd. So they try to predict something, and the problem they have is that it's the data input as well. So we provide that data input. So we have this thing going with Augur. We have Raoul Jordan, which just won a prize from the Ethereum Foundation. He works at Prismatic Labs and solves the scalability problem of Ethereum. He actually co-wrote our white paper, but wasn't allowed to put his name on there. And we have, around the globe, amazing people like the former lead of blockchain from PwC, venture people, AI people, and a bunch of other blockchain folk. And yeah, it's just check it out. Check out XYO Network, or grab someone from our team. in the other room, and we have 3 people here. We all wear our logo on our clothes somewhere. And yeah, that's us. Any questions? Yeah. It's a good question. So it's basically a mesh network. So it's relational to each other, but you still need a 0 point, right? So right now that base point is our office. But in the future, we're gonna use other location projects to calibrate our network. So there's places where you could have less density, for example, let's say in a desert, right? You have less IoT devices there. So that makes sense to calibrate the data. But we're not going to use GPS. We try to use other blockchain projects. There's a project in New York, for example, from a project called Foam. They're, like, I think, 2 years out with a product, but they would provide a decentralized location input into our Oracle. So we try to find those types of sources. What we also do, I spoke about how we incentivize all the components to earn portion of the XYO tokens. So let's say 20% of the bounty goes to the Sentinels. But if there's only 1 Sentinel, the Sentinel gets all the 20%. But if there's 10 Sentinels, every Sentinel gets only 2%. And we do that to increase the scale and the density of our network into remote areas. All right. Thank you very much.